Elias Ward adjusted his collar nervously as he walked through the long corridor of Titan Station's research wing. The hum of machinery filled the air, a steady rhythm that somehow made the enormous station feel alive. He had spent most of his life working among alien ecosystems, studying life forms that thrived in the harshest corners of the solar system. And yet, tonight, he felt completely out of his element. He was walking toward Mira Solence's quarters. Mira had been his co-worker for nearly 2 years, and while he knew her to be brilliant, precise, and fiercely private, he had never been invited to her home before. So when she had casually mentioned over lunch, "You should come for dinner sometime," he assumed it was just polite office talk. But now, standing outside her door, he realized she had meant it seriously. Taking a deep breath, Elias knocked. The door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing Mira standing there. She smiled, but it was different, hesitant, almost tense. "Hi, Elias," she said. "Come in." Her quarters were unlike any he had expected. Instead of the usual clean, metallic interior of Titan homes, Mira's apartment was warm and almost cozy. Soft light glowed from bioluminescent panels, and tiny plants, earth species she must have smuggled in, decorated the corners. Elias's gaze was drawn to a small bioscanner embedded in the doorframe, and then to the faint hum behind the walls. "Wow, this place is different," Elias said, trying to mask his nervousness. Mira chuckled softly. "Different is good, makes people feel alive." Elias smiled, but before he could respond, Mira gestured for him to sit. They moved to a small dining area, where a table had been set beautifully, complete with dinner plates, utensils, and a low, warm light above. "I hope you're hungry," she said. "I am," he replied. But inside, a small knot of anxiety had formed. There was something strange about tonight. Something he couldn't quite put his finger on. Before he could ask, Mira's parents entered. They were not what Elias expected. Gentle eyes, calm voices, but the kind of presence that made him feel small and observed. They smiled warmly at Mira, and then, to Elias's surprise, Mira said, "Elias, this is my boyfriend." Elias froze. "Boyfriend?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," Mira said, almost too casually. "Elias, meet my parents." Her parents' smiles widened, and Elias felt his face heat up. He opened his mouth to speak, but Mira put a finger gently to his lips. "Shh," she said. "It's easier this way. Just go along with it for tonight. Please?" Elias nodded, though his mind was racing. He had no idea what was happening, but he trusted Mira. Or at least, he trusted her judgment. Dinner began, and the conversation started normally. Almost too normally. Her parents asked him about his work, his life on the station, and he answered politely, carefully, aware that every word might be scrutinized. Mira sat next to him, occasionally brushing her hand against his arm, but it was subtle. Enough to maintain the illusion. After a few minutes, Mira pulled him aside quietly. "Elias," she whispered, "I'm glad you came. I know this is weird, but I need you to understand why I did this." He leaned in. "I'm listening." Mira's eyes were serious now, her playful smile gone. "My family and we're being watched. Not by station security. Not by the council. By someone else. An alien group called the Veyra Syndicate. They think I have something important. They've been targeting my research and anyone close to me. The thing is, they can't act against people who are socially connected. Humans, especially, are protective of their own. So, pretending you're my boyfriend protects me. They won't touch me if they think I'm with someone who will defend me." Elias blinked. "Wait, you mean I'm like a shield?" Mira nodded. "Exactly. I need someone I can trust, someone who will think, react, and survive. That's you, Elias. I know it's sudden, but I trust you. He swallowed hard, feeling a mix of fear, excitement, and something else he couldn't name. Being trusted like this, being needed, it was terrifying, but also strangely affirming. Okay, he said finally. I'll help. Mira smiled, relief washing over her face. Thank you. Just as they returned to the table, a low vibration ran through the floor. Elias noticed it immediately, even before the parents did. A soft, rhythmic hum, almost like footsteps. But not quite. He glanced at Mira, and she gave him a small, almost imperceptible nod. He understood then. The threat wasn't far away. It was already here. Dinner continued, but Elias couldn't focus on the food. He was watching, analyzing, scanning small things, vibrations in the floor, faint shifts in the lights, patterns in the air filtration. Mira's parents were calm, but Elias noticed the subtle tension in their hands, the way they exchanged glances when they thought no one was looking. This, Elias thought, isn't just a dinner, it's a reconnaissance mission. Mira leaned toward him under the table. They'll come soon, she whispered. We have to be ready. But stay calm. Think clearly. Don't panic. Elias nodded. He had trained for alien biology, xenotech hazards, and station emergencies. But nothing could have prepared him for this kind of social warfare. The fight wasn't about weapons yet. It was about perception, trust, and survival. And humans. Humans were good at that. He looked around the table, taking in Mira's parents, their calm demeanor, and the soft, warm light around them. The room felt safe, but he knew better. Safety was an illusion. Not here, not tonight. As the main course arrived, Elias's thoughts raced. How did he protect Mira without exposing himself? How did he keep the illusion convincing? Every decision mattered. Every move could tip the balance. Mira's mother placed a plate in front of him. Eat, Elias. You need your strength. He smiled and nodded, picking up his utensils. But the hum under the floor continued, growing slightly stronger. Someone, or something, was moving inside the station. And they were not friendly. Elias realized something vital. Humans had survived countless dangers not because of strength alone, but because they adapted, thought quickly, and protected each other. That was their edge. And tonight, he would need every ounce of that humanity. Dinner continued. And for a moment, he allowed himself to relax into the normalcy of conversation. The warmth of the room, the soft light, and Mira's quiet presence next to him. But he knew it wouldn't last. The Vera Syndicate would not wait. They never did. And yet, Elias felt ready. Because humans had a way of turning impossible situations into triumphs. And for the first time that evening, he felt like he was exactly where he needed to be. After dinner, the soft hum of the station seemed louder. Elias and Mira moved to the small living area, leaving her parents behind to clear the table. Mira's expression had shifted from playful to serious, her eyes reflecting the low glow of the bioluminescent panels. Elias could tell something important was about to be revealed. Sit down, Mira said, motioning to the couch. He obeyed, though his heart pounded in his chest. This wasn't just a casual dinner anymore. He could feel the tension like static in the air. I need to tell you the truth, Mira began, her voice low. It's not just a dinner. And it's not just a lie about being my boyfriend. Elias leaned forward, trying to steady his breathing. Go on. Mira swallowed and looked toward the window, where Titan's icy landscape stretched endlessly beyond the station's reinforced glass. My family, and I, we've been watched for months. By someone dangerous. Not the station authorities, not the council, but an alien group called the Vera Syndicate. They want something I've discovered in my research. Elias's eyebrows rose. The Syndicate? I've read about them. They're ruthless. They don't just steal research. They manipulate, sabotage, even eliminate threats. Mira nodded. Exactly. And they've been following me, monitoring my work, my movements, my life. They look for weaknesses. The problem is, the syndicate assumes that people without strong personal connections are easy targets. If they see someone as alone, they strike. Elias felt a chill run down his spine. He had faced dangerous alien species before, but this was different. This was personal, and now he was part of it. Mira's gaze returned to him, serious and pleading. That's why I introduced you as my boyfriend. You protect me, even if it's just by pretending to be close. The syndicate won't target someone who appears to be defended by a strong bond. Elias leaned back, trying to process the situation. Mira's lips curved slightly in a grim smile. Yes. But not just a shield. I need someone I can trust. Someone who can think fast. React to threats. Someone human. Human? He asked, confused. You're human, Mira said, her eyes sharp. Humans have something the Vera underestimate. Adaptability. Ingenuity. Courage under pressure. I need that tonight, Elias. I need you. Elias felt a mix of fear and pride. He had spent years studying alien life, understanding patterns and behaviors. But he had never imagined that those same skills, his ability to think and adapt, would be needed to protect someone. And yet, here he was. Okay, he said finally. I'll help. But what exactly should I do? Mira smiled faintly, relief washing over her face. For now, observe. Listen. Trust your instincts. Things will get tense soon. You'll know what to do when the moment comes. Just as she spoke, a faint vibration ran through the floor. Elias's eyes narrowed. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but he could feel it in his bones. Mira's parents had remained calm throughout dinner, but Elias noticed the tiny tension in their hands as they carried dishes. They're here, Mira whispered. Elias's pulse quickened. He stood and moved toward the window, scanning the corridors visible through the reinforced glass. The station's halls were empty, but he could sense the presence of something alien, something moving with intent. Careful, but not silent. Mira placed a hand on his arm. Not yet. Let them get closer. Watch their patterns. Anticipate. You can do this. Elias nodded, though doubt gnawed at the edge of his mind. He was no soldier. He was a scientist. But Mira's trust was like a spark, igniting courage he hadn't known he possessed. Minutes passed, the tension thick in the air. Then, a soft click echoed from the corridor outside the apartment. The syndicate had begun their infiltration. Elias crouched slightly, studying the pattern of vibrations beneath the floor and walls. Every movement had a rhythm. Every step left a trace. They're using organic tech, Elias whispered to Mira. Whatever they're wearing, it's alive. It reacts to sound and pressure. Mira's eyes widened. How did you know? Instinct, Elias replied, almost surprised by his own confidence. It's the pattern. I've seen similar tech in other ecosystems. It grows, adapts. They're clever, but they leave traces. We can use that against them. Mira's parents joined them, their calm demeanor now tinged with alertness. They will attempt entry soon, her father said. Prepare yourself. Use your surroundings. Do not underestimate them. Elias took a deep breath. He glanced around the apartment, noting the positions of furniture, the small lab equipment, even the heavy bioluminescent panels that could serve as cover. Humans were resourceful. And tonight, that would be their greatest weapon. The first sign of intrusion was subtle, a faint scratching at the reinforced door. Mira's mother tightened her grip on a small control panel embedded in the wall, activating the internal shield systems designed to slow the syndicate's entry. They expect us to panic, Mira whispered. We won't. Humans don't panic. We adapt. Elias's mind raced. He analyzed the vibrations, the faint changes in air pressure, the soft metallic click of alien mechanisms adjusting. Slowly, a plan formed. It wasn't perfect, but it could work. When the door shuttered under the first wave of attempted entry, Elias acted. Using a portable enzyme sprayer from Mira's lab, he targeted the sections of the door and surrounding panels where the alien tech made contact. The living metal hesitated, then recoiled, almost as if confused by the unexpected chemical reaction. Mira's father nodded in approval. "Good work, Elias. Keep it up. They will test every point of entry, predict their moves, outthink them." The syndicate's agents, sleek, predatory, and unnervingly quiet, approached again, using adaptive tools to bypass the apartment's barriers. But Elias and Mira worked together, predicting movements, redirecting the intruders, and improvising defenses. Mira marveled at his quick thinking. "I didn't know you were this fast." Elias shrugged, though his mind was fully focused. Humans have to be fast. Survival depends on it. Minutes stretched into hours. The syndicate's persistence was formidable, but so was human ingenuity. They made mistakes, overestimated speed, underestimated adaptability. Elias used the apartment's systems creatively, turning furniture, lab tools, and even light patterns into distractions. Through it all, Mira's parents provided technical support, coordinating the shield systems and monitoring for breaches. And through it all, Elias stayed calm, methodical, and observant. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the syndicate retreated. Their technology hummed, frustrated by the unexpected resistance. Elias allowed himself a brief exhale, his body still tense, every nerve alert. Mira's parents approached him, eyes filled with gratitude. "You've done well," her father said. "You've proven the truth of what Mira said. Humans adapt, humans survive, and humans protect those they care about." Mira smiled at him, her hand brushing his arm lightly again. This time not part of any ruse, but a genuine gesture. "I knew I could trust you," she whispered. Elias felt something shift inside him, a sense of pride, relief, and belonging. He had faced danger without weapons, without brute force, relying only on observation, intelligence, and human instinct. And it had worked. "Thank you," he said quietly, though he knew it was Mira's parents who deserved the thanks for trusting him with their secret. Mira's father shook his head. "No, the thanks is ours. You've reminded us why humans survive in the universe, not because of strength, not because of numbers, but because of adaptability, courage, and ingenuity." "Remember that," Elias nodded, understanding the weight of those words. The syndicate would not give up. But tonight, humanity had won, at least for now. As the adrenaline faded, Mira led him to a small balcony overlooking Titan's frozen landscape. The icy winds blew softly, the orange and blue of the station lights reflecting off the ice fields. Elias could see the vastness of space, the fragile human-made station standing strong against a harsh environment. "You did well," Mira said, her voice soft but firm, "and you've changed something tonight. You've shown me that humans were stronger than they think, smarter than they know, adaptable beyond expectation." Elias looked at her, realizing that she had been right. Humans had always thrived, even in the most impossible circumstances. And tonight, that truth had been tested again. I'll do whatever it takes," he said. "Not just for you, but because humans don't give up." Mira smiled, a genuine smile, the tension of the evening finally easing. "That's why I knew you were the right one." And in that moment, Elias understood that being human meant more than survival. It meant courage, ingenuity, and the unshakable will to protect those who mattered. And in the quiet, icy world of Titan Station, surrounded by danger, he felt the first spark of true purpose. The station's lights flickered for a brief moment, casting long shadows across Mira's apartment. Elias tightened his grip on the small enzyme sprayer he had improvised earlier. Tonight had already shown him that the Veyra Syndicate was not an enemy to underestimate. Their persistence was frightening, but humans had a way of thinking fast, of turning the impossible into a chance to survive. Mira's parents were tense but composed. Her father monitored the shield systems, his fingers flying across the control panels as he rerouted energy to reinforce the apartment's doors and walls. Her mother adjusted the room's internal environment, shifting the air circulation to mask their heat signatures. Elias noticed every small move, learning quickly. "They'll try to force their way in," Mira whispered, her eyes scanning the corridor. "You need to anticipate them. Every step, every action, counts." Elias nodded. His muscles were tense, his mind alive with calculations and strategies. He moved to the window, observing the long corridor outside. There, faint ripples in the air indicated the approach of the Veyra. They were slow, deliberate, confident, but their patterns were predictable if one watched carefully. "They're using adaptive tools again," Elias murmured. "They'll try to dissolve or manipulate the metal on the doors and walls. We need to counter them quickly." Mira's mother glanced at him, impressed. "Good observation. Humans notice what others overlook. That is your advantage." The first wave of the Syndicate's agents struck. Small, organic tendrils, sleek and black, reached through the edges of the apartment door. They pulsed with life, moving like snakes, twisting and reshaping as if searching for weak points. Elias reacted instinctively, spraying the enzyme solution across the tendrils. They hissed and recoiled, slowing their advance. "Keep going," Mira whispered. "We can't let them inside." The second wave came more aggressively, pounding on the reinforced walls and windows. Elias used whatever he could reach. Metal rods from a shelving unit, lab chemicals, even the bioluminescent panels themselves. He created barriers, distractions, and traps, forcing the alien tendrils to retreat or become confused. Mira and her parents coordinated perfectly with him. Shields strengthened, airflows diverted, and every move was calculated. Elias realized that humans were at their best when they worked together, combining instinct, intelligence, and courage. The Syndicate had assumed they were facing isolated humans, weak and scattered. They were wrong. One of the tendrils suddenly lashed out toward Elias. He ducked, narrowly avoiding a strike that could have immobilized him. The creature hissed, adaptive sensors glowing faintly, recalibrating. Elias smiled grimly. Humans didn't rely on brute force, they relied on thinking, improvising, and using the environment to their advantage. "Stay low," Mira yelled, ducking behind the couch as another wave of tendrils pressed against the walls. "Use the panels! Move the furniture!" Elias pushed a heavy shelf into the path of the attacking tendrils. The creatures writhed and hissed, trapped momentarily, giving them time to reinforce the door with additional shield energy. Mira's father adjusted the power flow to the walls, electrifying certain areas just enough to create a temporary barrier without harming the apartment's systems. Through it all, Elias marveled at Mira's composure. She wasn't panicking, she was calculating. Humans could fear and act at the same time. They adapted faster than the Syndicate expected. Suddenly, a shadow moved differently in the corridor. A Syndicate scout, larger and more intelligent than the others, appeared. Its black armor seemed to shift and flow, a living metal designed for both offense and defense. Elias realized this was a test, a way to probe their defenses, to learn how humans reacted. "It's coming toward the window," Mira hissed. Elias grabbed a handheld energy projector from a nearby lab bench, aiming carefully. He fired a short pulse, enough to startle the creature without causing permanent damage. It recoiled, unsure of the sudden interference. Then it struck again, faster this time, its tendrils extending like whips. Elias moved with instinct and precision, dodging and using the environment. He pushed a heavy lab cart to block the tendrils, grabbed a metal pipe, and swatted another attempt away. Each move was calculated, every reaction based on observation. The Syndicate expected panic. They got strategy. Mira joined him, using small bursts of compressed air from the apartment's ventilation system to push tendrils back. Together, they fought like a coordinated unit, two humans against a formidable alien technology. The syndicate agents paused, recalibrating. They had underestimated human ingenuity, Elias realized. These humans didn't just survive, they adapted, improvised, and countered every move. That was the true human strength. Focus on the main one, Mira whispered. The scout controls the others. Take it down, and the rest will falter. Elias studied the scout, noticing its weak points, slight delays in movement, faint glows at the joints, and its reliance on the smaller tendrils for balance. He aimed the energy projector carefully and fired a targeted pulse at the glowing joint. The creature shrieked, retracting its tendrils and recoiling from the impact. The smaller tendrils hesitated, disoriented without guidance. Elias's heart pounded as he pushed them back further with improvised barriers and chemical sprays. Mira's parents adjusted the shields to seal off the corridor completely, finally blocking the syndicate's advance. For a moment, silence filled the apartment. The Vera syndicate had been forced to retreat, at least temporarily. Elias leaned against the wall, breathing heavily, sweat running down his forehead. Mira came to him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You were incredible," she said softly. "I knew humans were capable of great things. But you proved it." Elias shook his head, still catching his breath. "We were incredible. Together. You, your parents, me. Humans survive because we work together, adapt, and never give up." Mira smiled. A small, genuine smile that eased some of the tension. "Exactly. And tonight, you've shown why we can't be underestimated." Her father approached, placing a hand on Elias's shoulder. "Humans are remarkable," he said. "You think, you adapt, and you protect. That is why humans survive. That is why humans thrive where others fail. Tonight, you have demonstrated the essence of humanity." Elias felt a surge of pride. He had faced danger without weapons, without brute force, relying only on observation, intelligence, and quick thinking. And it had worked. The syndicate would not give up, he knew. They were persistent, patient, and ruthless. But humans had a way of turning fear into strategy, panic into action, and obstacles into opportunities. And that was exactly what they had done tonight. Mira led him to the small balcony overlooking Titan's frozen landscape. The station lights reflected off the ice fields, casting an otherworldly glow across the terrain. Elias felt a sense of awe. They had survived, adapted, and proven that humans could face even the most unpredictable threats. "You did well," Mira said, her voice soft but confident. "And you've changed something tonight. You've shown me what humans are capable of. Smarter, faster, and more courageous than they believe." Elias looked at her, understanding her meaning. Humans had survived not because of strength alone, but because of ingenuity, courage, and adaptability. Tonight, they had lived those truths. "I'll do whatever it takes," he said quietly. "Not just for you, but because humans don't give up." Mira smiled, finally letting the tension of the evening ease. "That's why I knew you were the right one." Elias looked at the icy horizon, the station standing strong against the harsh environment of Titan. He understood now that being human meant more than survival. It meant courage, adaptability, and the will to protect those who mattered. And in this frozen, alien world, surrounded by danger, he felt the spark of purpose ignite within him. Tonight, humans had faced the unknown and they had won, not by luck, but by being human. The quiet after the retreat of the syndicate was brief. Elias leaned against the balcony railing, watching Titan's frozen plains stretch into the darkness. The icy winds cut through the station's exterior, a reminder of how fragile human life was in such a harsh environment. He knew the syndicate would not stop, they never did. They were patient, calculating, and relentless. Mira joined him, her eyes scanning the horizon. "They'll come back," she said quietly. And next time, it won't be just a scout or a few tendrils. They'll come prepared. Elias nodded, already thinking ahead. Then we need to be ready, not just to survive, but to fight strategically. We can use the apartment. We can use the station's systems. We can adapt faster than they expect. Her parents appeared behind them, calm but alert. Mira's father spoke first, his voice firm. You are correct. The Vera will escalate. They think they can outlast humans, wear us down, and break our defenses. But humans do not break, humans adapt, and that is why we must use every advantage we have. Elias felt a surge of determination. He was no soldier, but humans had survived countless threats because of adaptability, ingenuity, and courage. Tonight, those traits would be tested like never before. The first sign of the full assault came as a low, vibrating hum across the apartment. The floor beneath them trembled slightly. The lights flickered, and the air felt heavier, charged with energy. Mira's mother tapped her wrist console, activating additional shield reinforcements. They're mobilizing, she said. This is not a drill. Elias moved quickly, checking the perimeter. The syndicate agents were approaching through multiple corridors, their tendrils probing every possible entry. They were no longer cautious. They were confident, expecting the humans to falter. They think we're weak, Elias muttered. They're wrong. Mira nodded. Then let's show them what humans can do. The first wave of tendrils struck the reinforced windows. Elias reacted instantly, using the enzyme spray to halt the adaptive metal. The creatures hissed, writhing against the resistance, their sensors scanning for a new weakness. Mira's parents worked in tandem, redirecting shield energy to the points under attack, while rerouting station systems to create unexpected obstacles. Elias realized that this was no ordinary defense. They were facing a coordinated strike, designed to overwhelm. But humans thrived under pressure. They thought, improvised, and turned challenges into opportunities. He grabbed a heavy lab cart and pushed it against one of the windows, creating a barrier. Then, using a series of small chemical reactions, he caused a distraction, a cloud of harmless but disorienting gas that confused the alien sensors. The tendrils recoiled, giving them a momentary advantage. They're learning, Mira said quietly, watching the movements of the attacking syndicate agents. We need to stay unpredictable. Elias smiled grimly. Humans are good at that. Another wave approached, more aggressive this time. A larger creature, the leader of this assault, emerged. Its body seemed alive, shifting with a strange fluidity. Elias realized it was coordinating the attack, directing smaller tendrils and scouts toward weak points. Focus on it, Mira whispered. Take down the leader, and the rest will falter. Elias studied the creature carefully. It was powerful, but not invincible. Its joints glowed faintly, a sign of its energy nodes. Its movements, while fast, followed a pattern. Using the environment, the apartment layout, and Mira's quick guidance, Elias aimed his energy projector at a glowing node and fired. The pulse struck true, and the creature hissed in pain, retracting its tendrils. The smaller tendrils hesitated, confused without their leader's guidance. Mira took advantage of the moment, using the apartment's ventilation system to push high-velocity air streams at the intruders. They were knocked back, giving Elias and her parents time to reinforce shields and block corridors. Elias felt a rush of adrenaline. This was human ingenuity at its peak. Observation, adaptation, and teamwork. The syndicate had assumed weakness. They found strategy. Mira joined him in coordinating the defense, her calmness a stark contrast to the chaos outside. Watch the left corridor, she said. They'll try to flank us. Use the panels to block them. Elias nodded, pushing a set of bioluminescent panels into place. The adaptive tendrils collided with the panels and recoiled, buying precious seconds. Humans used what they had, thought quickly, and exploited every advantage. That was why they survived, even against superior technology. The syndicate regrouped, sending their creatures in multiple directions simultaneously. Elias realized that if they didn't act fast, they could be overwhelmed. He grabbed a nearby piece of equipment, a small lab generator, and rigged it to emit an electromagnetic pulse. It was risky, but humans thrived on calculated risks. With a flick of a switch, the pulse surged through the room. The alien tendrils screamed and twitched as their adaptive sensors overloaded. They faltered, slowed, and retreated just enough for the humans to strengthen their defenses. "They're not invincible," Elias said, panting. "They adapt, but so do we." Mira's parents moved quickly, rerouting the apartment's power to create temporary electric barriers in the corridors. The tendrils hissed, recoiling at the new obstacle. The syndicate had underestimated humans' ability to improvise under pressure. Elias and Mira worked together seamlessly. He analyzed, she executed. He calculated, she acted. Every move was synchronized, every reaction precise. Humans didn't panic. Humans adapted. And that adaptation was more powerful than any technology. The leader of the syndicate assaulted again, larger and more aggressive. Its tendrils smashed against the reinforced walls, testing for weaknesses. Elias observed carefully, noting the creature's rhythm and energy patterns. Using a combination of chemical sprays, energy pulses, and strategic blockages, he forced the creature to retreat repeatedly. Mira smiled faintly. "They didn't expect humans to fight back like this." "They underestimate us every time," Elias replied. "And every time, they learn the hard way." Hours passed, or at least it felt that way. Time blurred as humans and syndicate fought in a deadly game of observation, strategy, and adaptation. Finally, the creatures hesitated, then retreated down the main corridor. The immediate threat had passed, at least temporarily. Mira's parents approached Elias, their eyes filled with respect and relief. "You have done well," her father said. "Humans are remarkable. You think, adapt, and protect. That is why humans survive where others fail. Remember this strength. It is your greatest weapon." Elias nodded, exhausted but proud. He had faced danger not with brute force, but with intelligence, quick thinking, and human adaptability. He had fought alongside Mira, alongside her parents, and together they had turned a potentially fatal assault into a triumph. Mira placed a hand on his arm. "You've shown me what humans can do. Not just survive, but thrive, even against impossible odds." Elias smiled faintly. "Humans don't give up. We adapt. We protect each other. That's what makes us strong." Mira looked at him, a new respect in her eyes. "Tonight, you've proven it. You've shown me and everyone watching that humans are not to be underestimated." Elias gazed out over Titan's frozen landscape once more. The station stood strong, a human outpost in a hostile environment, resilient and adaptive, and he realized something profound. Being human was not just about survival. It was about courage, intelligence, and the will to protect those who mattered. The syndicate would return, Elias knew. They always did. But humans had a way of facing the unknown, with ingenuity and bravery. And tonight, humans had won. Not by luck, but by being human. Mira's voice broke through his thoughts. "We did it. Together." "Yes," Elias replied, feeling the weight of the night settle into determination. "Together. And we'll be ready next time." As the icy wind blew across the balcony, he knew one thing for certain. Humans were never powerless. They adapted. They survived. And when the stakes were highest, they became stronger. And in the quiet aftermath of the assault, Elias felt a spark of purpose ignite. Humans had faced the impossible tonight, and they had won. The aftermath of the assault left Titan Station quiet, but tense. The air hummed softly, a reminder of the power that had nearly breached the Solans' home. Elias stood near the balcony, watching the frozen expanse of Titan stretch endlessly beneath the station lights. Every gust of icy wind reminded him that they were far from safe, that the syndicate could strike again. But tonight, humans had survived, and more than survived, they had triumphed. Mira joined him, her expression calm but thoughtful. "They've retreated for now," she said quietly. "But they'll return. They never give up." Elias nodded. "They'll come back. But they don't know humans as well as we know each other. They underestimate our adaptability. That's their mistake." Her parents entered the balcony, their faces reflecting both relief and pride. Mira's father spoke first. "You have shown us something important tonight. Humans are capable of extraordinary things, not because of weapons or technology alone, but because of courage, intelligence, and cooperation. You have reminded us why humanity survives in the universe." End quote. Elias felt a surge of pride. It wasn't just about his own actions. It was about teamwork, about human resilience. Mira had trusted him. Her parents had guided him, and together, they had turned a near-impossible situation into a success. Mira smiled faintly, placing her hand on Elias's arm. "You've changed how I see humans, Elias. We survive, not because we are the strongest, but because we never stop thinking, adapting, and protecting each other." Elias returned her smile. "That's humanity. We keep going, no matter how impossible the odds." Inside, the apartment had been damaged in minor ways, panels scratched, furniture knocked over, but nothing irreparable. Mira's parents moved to repair the systems, working efficiently and quietly. Elias helped as best he could, aware that every small action mattered. It wasn't just about survival. It was about reclaiming control, restoring order, and proving that humans could face anything. Once the immediate repairs were complete, Mira's father gathered them all in the living area. "We need a plan," he said. "The syndicate may return, but humans can prepare. We can fortify, monitor, and outthink them. That is our strength." Elias nodded, already thinking about improvements. "We should use the apartment's existing systems as traps and diversions. They rely on predictable patterns. But humans don't follow patterns. We can turn their expectations against them," Mira's mother added. "And we can use the station's corridors strategically, limiting their approach. Humans are excellent at improvising in complex environments. That is an advantage they do not anticipate." Together, they spent hours reinforcing the apartment, setting up monitoring systems, and creating improvised defenses. Elias learned quickly, guided by Mira and her parents. He marveled at how humans, when pushed to their limits, could innovate, adapt, and coordinate with precision. As the night deepened, Elias found himself on the balcony again, reflecting. The syndicate had believed they could intimidate and control humans. They had miscalculated. Humans didn't rely solely on strength or numbers. They relied on ingenuity, courage, and a willingness to protect those they cared about. Mira joined him silently, standing side by side as they watched Titan's icy plains. "Tonight, we faced something that should have defeated us," she said softly. "And yet, here we are. Humans are remarkable." Elias nodded. "We survived. And we'll survive again. Because we don't give up. We adapt. We protect. And we fight with our minds as much as our bodies." She looked at him, her eyes reflecting both admiration and relief. "You've shown me that humans are not to be underestimated. Not ever." The hours passed, and sleep became possible. Though cautious, the syndicate could strike again at any time. But humans had proven something essential tonight. They could face the unknown, and they could win. Not by brute force, not by alien technology, but by thinking, adapting, and working together. The next morning, Titan Station was quiet. The corridors were empty, the icy winds still howling outside, but the sense of triumph lingered. Elias and Mira walked together through the station, observing the repairs and making small adjustments to the defenses. Humans didn't just endure, they improved, adapted, and strengthened with every challenge. Mira paused at a control panel, adjusting a sensor array. "You've changed something tonight," she said. "Not just for me, but for all of us. The syndicate will think twice before underestimating humans again." Elias smiled. "We'll be ready. Humans always are. We survive, we adapt, and we protect each other. That's what we do." Her parents joined them, nodding in agreement. "You have proven it. Humans think, adapt, and protect. That is why humanity survives where others fail. Remember this strength. It is the greatest weapon against any threat." Elias felt a deep sense of purpose. Humanity was not defined by individual strength alone. It was defined by intelligence, courage, adaptability, and the willingness to protect others. That was why they thrived, why they survived, and why, even against the Vera Syndicate, they could prevail. Over the next few days, the station returned to normal operations. Though vigilance remained high. The syndicate had been temporarily repelled. But humans remained ready. Elias continued to work with Mira and her parents, combining research, defense, and strategy. Every action was a reminder that humans didn't just survive, they overcame, adapted, and improved. One evening, as the orange and blue lights of Titan Station reflected off the icy plains, Mira and Elias stood on the balcony again. The silence was comforting, but the memory of the assault lingered. "You know," Mira said quietly, "I didn't just invite you for dinner. I invited you because I knew humans could do more than survive. They could face the impossible and adapt. You've shown me that tonight." Elias laughed softly. "I didn't do it alone. Humans are at their best when they work together. That's why we thrive." She smiled, a warmth in her eyes that had nothing to do with the frigid station air. "Together," she agreed, and together they watched the frozen plains, the station standing resilient against the harshness of Titan. The syndicate might return, but humans had proven their greatest strength. Courage, intelligence, adaptability, and an unshakable will to protect those they cared about. Elias realized that the fight wasn't just against alien threats. It was a reminder that humanity itself was powerful, that their ability to adapt and survive was unmatched. That was their truth, their essence, their enduring strength, and in that quiet, frozen world, humans had answered the universe. They would survive, they would adapt, they would protect each other, and they would triumph. For the first time that week, Elias felt a true sense of calm. Humans had faced the unknown, met danger head-on, and emerged victorious. The syndicate had learned an important lesson. Humans could never be underestimated. As Titan's winds howled outside, Elias knew that this was just the beginning. There would be more challenges, more unknown threats, and more impossible odds. But humanity had a way of turning fear into strategy, obstacles into opportunity, and challenges into triumphs. Mira placed her hand on his shoulder, squeezing lightly. "We're ready," she said. "Yes," Elias replied, looking out at the endless ice and distant stars. "Humans are always ready, and we will always rise to the challenge." The station stood firm, the night calm for now, and within the walls of Mira's home, humans had proven something essential. That courage, intelligence, adaptability, and the will to protect each other were more powerful than any alien technology. Elias smiled faintly, feeling the weight of the night and the pride of humanity. The universe was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable. But humans were extraordinary, and tonight, humanity had answered the call.